Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of The Ritual. So, another one I've caught on Netflix, and I really didn't know too much about this one going into this one. Um, I heard one recommendation from one of my podcast fellows, and that was about it. So, I really went into this blindfolded. Didn't even really check out what it was about to watch it. So let's see what I thought about it. So of course, cast and crew information down below, and I'll start by reading what the plot is, so you guys who are not familiar with it at least know a little something about it. A group of college friends reunite for a trip to the forest, but encounter a menacing presence in the woods that's stalking them. Alright, so they wrote a nice little plot there, some keywords there: menacing presence and stalking and in the woods and so forth. But before we get to the woods, I guess you have a group of friends here. I believe it was four of them, and they, I guess in their college days, younger days, suffer the loss of one of their four end up in the woods, I believe, maybe five. But they suffer a tragic event where one of their friends gets killed, and another one of them who's on this trip with them was actually there when he got killed, and this one in particular is having he has flashbacks through the entire movie of this event. So he suffers it, and he's also the one who's bringing the audience the view of what happens. So early in the movie, you get to see what happens and how this guy gets killed, and what the other guy does while this is happening. And in a way, this is why all their friends have come together. They've all come together to kind of go on this trip in celebration of their friend and in memory of him. And I don't know how they kind of got to this point, because obviously there's one or two people who are still harboring some bad thoughts or blame to this other friend on what happened and why he didn't do more, and so forth. But obviously haven't really said it. So obviously there's some underlining bad vibes between them, even as a group, even on this trip. But really, everything is fine. They go and they do their thing. They hold their ritual, and they pay their respects to their friend. And then, so you think, oh, everything's good, but it's not. We're in the woods, and every time you see a horror movie in the woods, nothing good is happening in that woods. So here they hear some sounds and so forth, and they're kind of creeped out and whatever. And this kind of slowly starts to divide amongst the group here. And obviously there's one who's trying to be the voice of reason and keep the group together. There's the one that's kind of suffering, from the flashbacks and remembering and so forth. And as the more time they spend out here in the woods, his flashbacks kind of change. They get a little weirder, and I guess it's kind of a mix between what is happening in real time and what is happening in his mind, and remembering that moment. So they kind of use that to mess with the audience a little bit in that respect. And there's a moment or two, when they first camp, after they start hearing this weird sound. It kind of makes me remember the Blair Witch Project. We always get thrown back into that movie. And again, then it kind of gets weird, and then I'm starting. If you saw my review of Midsommar, you're starting to get that. Oh my God, is this going to be just a really weird movie? Are we going to go down that road? And it's kind of got almost that same feel to it, same maybe area of the world. I don't know if they said where they were exactly, but you kind of get that vibe, and so there's obviously something in the woods there that's spooking them, and they come across a person who's hung up in a tree and basically gutted or hung there. You see a lot of his insides and so forth there, and apparently whatever's happening in the woods, whatever's taking people or doing whatever with people likes to do that. So I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. A couple of the members of this group of guys, eventually get caught and eventually get hung up in the tree in a similar fashion. So it's very dark, very creepy, mysterious. You don't really know what's going on. I think they did a decent job of holding me in there. It seemed a little weird at one point. Of course, you got the arguing of the guys, and you kind of comes out, who has feelings about how the guy died and who's blaming this other guy and so forth, and of course the tension rises amongst them, and eventually you find out what is exactly happening, and the craziness that's happening in the woods. Don't really want to give it away, but it wasn't bad. I'd like to say, I guess there is a creature involved, and so forth. That's part of it. So I don't think I'm not going to give away everything that's happening in this movie. But there is a creature involved, and I guess you would expect that if someone's getting hung in a tree, it has to be either a large group of people or a creature. Kind of like when you're thinking about like the Predator, had to be something big and strong and so forth. So they hide it from you from a really long time, and you don't really get to see it till the end of the movie. And then you get to see it. It's a pretty weird looking thing. I don't want to get into too much description of it and let you see it for yourself. But again, kind of like I mentioned in the Sweetheart review, I liked it that they eventually showed it to you, and you got to see what it does and so forth. They didn't just hide it or keep it in the dark, and you would only see part of it. By the time you get to the end of the movie, you get to see everything that makes it up the creature, and you get to see it in action and so forth. So they don't jip you on that point, and so I like that. I like that they didn't hide that away from you. Again, I don't want to say too much about the end of the movie because I don't want to give it away, but I think it ended solidly. The mystery does reveal itself. Maybe you figure it out, maybe you don't. Nothing too crazy going on here besides the creature, but they did a good job with the mystery and keeping it dark and so forth, and keeping you involved with what's going on with the group dynamic there, and with the flashback that happened and so forth, and kind of in a way they want to play with your mind there. Does this guy get what he deserves, or that guy get what he deserves? And kind of gives the audience their own thoughts on what would you have done in that situation, what would you do after the fact if you were one of these friends or even the guy who had to, I guess, deal with the most guilt here, and how that carries with them. So you can see some influences of a couple of other movies in there, and so forth, but overall the acting was good enough. Nothing bad there, and comes to a very good action-filled ending, and with a nice explanation of what's going on here and so forth. So nothing totally out there. So with that, again, this is on Netflix. If you want to catch up with this one, I'm gonna give this one probably 3 pools of blood as well. Just a overall just solid movie. With a good creature in it, good story, good explanation, good enough acting, and so forth. And nothing too bad, nothing gone wrong here. So again, cast and crew information down below. Subscribe to the channel for more video reviews. If you're looking for some written reviews, I do those as well. Horrors, goryreviews.blogspot.com. I have that also as well down below, along with the social media. So you can catch some more reviews there as well. Thank you for checking out this one, and hopefully you'll take my recommendation and give this one a view if you've not seen it. And if you have seen it and you want to comment on what I've said, agree or disagree, no problem. Just throw it in the comment section as well. So thanks for your time, horror fans.